Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, August the 3rd, 2026. And as always, great to have you all along. A little bit happening over the weekend with the boxing. Really enjoyed yesterday's fight with Williams Zapata and Lamont Roach Jr. Commonwealth Games, of course, they've come to an end. And some big cards coming up. We've got, this weekend, Shanika Johnson up against Dina Thorsen. We've got Desley Robinson against Tam Theobald. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then the following week, Kate Scott against Carissa Shields. Also got David Nyeka and Floyd Masson. So plenty happening in the boxing world. If you're new to the show, it says right there, Talking Boxing. The chat, put your comment, question, remark, whatever it might be in the chat. Thanks also to everyone that listens to the show after the fact on Spotify. We always get a few doing that. So let's get into the show. Let's start with old mate Big J. What do you got there, mate? Hey, mate, I think that Jesus Ramos has been left at the conversation for a potential opponent for Tim. WBC interim and a winnable fight for Tim, but maybe Bentley, as Tim is ranked number 2 with the WBO. Yeah, I have sort of seen and heard maybe something about that too, Big J. I don't know. I think, well, he's, what is he? So he's the, I thought WBC interim. I'll just bring up the rankings as we go. So, sorry guys, where are we? Rankings. So, yeah, well, WBC does make a bit of sense for him, doesn't it? Hang on, I'll just refresh this. So I'm not quite sure when the rankings have been updated, but WBC. So, yeah, Jesus Ramos is the interim. What else did you say there? Bentley, yeah, Bentley. He's not ranked number 2 yet, though, is he? It hasn't updated. I did see that, that they were going to put him at number 2. And only Hernandez is still number 1. Yeah, look, I don't know. A lot of opponents been thrown around at the moment, Big J, but I think it just comes down to who's available, the money involved. I think he'd be a tough fight for Tim. But no, I think he'd be, especially if he got the interim title. That means Carlos Adames would be sort of looking at him as well. WBO, well, yeah, as you said, Denzel Bentley's got that. IBF is vacant. Lara's got the WBA course. Actually, this weekend is Aaron McKenna and Etan Osa Oliha. I think that's been. What happened to Amari Jones? He's actually the number 1 ranked middleweight. Not sure what's happened there. But anyway, yeah, lots of names being thrown around, Big J. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I think, but at the moment they're just seeing what is the best option for him. And the thing is, with a name like he's got, and he's standing in the sport at the moment, I think there'll be a few of those gun middleweights that'll be looking at him. So the rest is up to him. I'm praying that Tim doesn't go the Charlo or Lara route. Charlo would be an extremely hard sell, as many may see it as a cash grab and just another inactive fighter. Lara would probably beat Tim. Yeah, on both of those, I mean, Charlo, I'm not sure he'd be a hard sell. Some might see it as a cash grab, especially coming off the win over Errol Spence after he had 3 years out of the ring as well, which is what Charlo's had now. I think, or next month, it'll be 3 years. So, but I don't think it'll be a hard sell. I think a little bit like the Spence fight. I think a lot of people will want to see Tim versus Charlo, especially the Australian market. There'll be a lot of the Americans over there as well that would still back Charlo in against Tim. The Lara one probably, I suppose, almost makes the most sense because it's probably the easiest to make. Lara's with PBC, hasn't been very active. I think he last fought in December last year. Not a big fan base. It's not like he's going to come to the table and bang his fist on the table and say, this is the way it's going to be. He hasn't really got a lot of leverage, so I think that would suit in the dealings with Tim. Adames, who knows, I suppose. Bentley, well, that's probably another, maybe he wants to get another couple of defenses. Oh, who knows? But I don't think the Charlo fight would be that that hard to sell. And I think Lara, as far as beating Tim, I'll tell you what, the Lara from about 2 or 3 years ago, I think would beat Tim, but we just don't know where he's at. What's it been, 8 months out of the ring now? But he hasn't had a lot of wars. I think we've discussed that before. He hasn't had a lot of wars in the sport. Just kept himself in good shape, looks after himself. So he'd still probably be okay. But at 40, is he nearly 43? Or maybe he is 43? I'm not sure. But Yeah, it'd be a tough one. But look, any fight at that level, Big J is tough. But I'm telling you, the Tim that I saw last weekend against Spence, I'm still not convinced he beats any of those guys, if I'm being honest. Now, who knows, that might have been the fight he needs to really get the confidence back and everything else. But I still think he's got a way to go, Tim. So we will see. All right, so I still got a couple from you, Big J. Biggest month in the history of women's Aussie boxing as all the champs are fighting. Shanika Johnson, Kay Scott, Sky Nicholson and Desley Robinson. Is Sky fighting? That's right, she's two. Unfortunately, Shanika and Kay will most likely lose the belts, and Nicholson and Desley Robinson may suffer their fights. Is that suffer or lose their fights? All very, very tough fights. I think, look, Sky Nicholson's got a pretty hard fight as well against a Japanese girl, but I think she'll win. Look, yeah, I think the hardest one out of all those fights. Well, I was going to say Kay Scott against Carissa Shields, but I'll tell you what, Shanika Johnson against Dina Thorson is going to be tough as well. And Desley Robinson, more of a winnable fight, but her opponent is very good as well. So, look, you got to give the women all the credit in the world, Big J. They're stepping up, taking on the biggest names out there. And who would have thought in the space of a week or two to have Shanika versus Thorsland for the undisputed, Kay Scott against Clarissa Shields, arguably the number one fighter in women's boxing, Sky Nicholson defending her world title, and Desley Robinson defending her two belts as well. So fantastic. But yeah, it's they're going to be tough, but all you can do is give yourself the best opportunity. Big Joe, where was my shout out from Nick Noonan? Well, I think you might have been the only person involved in boxing, Big J, that didn't get a shout out from Noonan Boy. Seemed to be a lot of the comments last week about it. Look, it's just the way I suppose Noonan Boy talks. But look, the response from him was really great. Or in response to him being on the show was great. And look, I really wanted to get Noonan Boy on because he knows his stuff. He's so well connected. Doesn't put himself out there a lot. But I talk to him fairly regularly, and he's always got the inside scoop, and there's not really anything he's ever said that hasn't turned out to be correct. So it's great to have him on. Yes, there's a few shout-outs out there. Got a few people saying, where was my shout-out as well? Did I get a shout-out? I'm not sure I did. But anyway, yeah, and while we're here, a shout-out to Nick Noonan Boy Noonan for coming on last week, and we'll try and get him on a little bit more often. All right, we're going to go to Drew. What do you got there, Drew? Keyshawn turning down $3 million for the Haney fight is madness. He rejects triple his highest payday, goes back to fighting nondescript guys, and gives his own brand a black eye for future negotiations. Well, I commented on it a couple of times, Drew. Can you get your head around this guy? Like you said there, his biggest payday in the past had been $1 million. All of a sudden, he gets offered $3 million. This is before it goes to purse bid. So he gets offered $3 million, 3 times what his best offer or best purse has ever been. Coming up from 140, didn't win a world title at 140. Normally, if you're the reigning champion from a lower division, you go up, you get installed as the number one challenger straight away. He didn't win the 140-pound title. In fact, he lost his title on the scales at 135, goes up to 140, has a couple of fights. Okay, wins, but then gets installed as the number one challenger for the WBO belt. So it just jumps over a lot of probably more deserving fighters, and never fought again at that weight, as I said, and gets offered the $3 million and turns it down, prices himself out of it. Well, I'm not sure exactly what he's waiting for, and I'd love to know what the better offer was and what's out there, because you've got all the belts now in play, or maybe not the IBF, but Liam Paro, I think, will be looking elsewhere. There's other opponents out there for him, and I don't think Keyshawn's ranked at welterweight anyway, is he? Where is he? Let's go to a quick look at welterweight. So at the moment, he's been dropped down to number 7, by the way, after the weekend with what happened. So he's still ranked number 1 at the moment, but apparently he's number 7. And I don't think he's ranked number 4 with the IBF. I don't think he's ranked by the WBA, no. And not ranked with the WBC. So, yeah, I don't know where he's getting his advice from, Drew, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, to turn down that? And even if it was a little bit less than what he wanted, he's getting a shot at Devin Haney for the World Welterweight Championship. Imagine the doors that would open if he fought Devin Haney, beat Devin Haney. You might be looking at the Ramiro Lopez winner or the Garcia Ben winner. maybe Liam Paro unification, and they are all big money fights, more so the first two. But yeah, obviously getting some very, very poor advice there, Drew, and he probably deserves what he's getting. Dropped from number 1 to number 7, so he's way out of the mix now. Doesn't look like he's going to get a look in for the other titles. So some of these guys, they just make dreadful decisions. Fair income. What do you got there, Drew? With Tim. All right, if Tim wants maximum bang for buck and exposure and potential legacy at this later period of his career, I feel Lara then Charlo are his best options. Of course, success is no guarantee with either guy. No, that's it, Drew. Look, I'm with you. I think they want to make the Charlo fight. I would think that PBC want to have Charlo in against Tim at some stage. So it probably makes sense that Tim fights Lara, and then Charlo has maybe a comeback fight or a tune-up fight, and then they hope that he gets through that. They hope that Tim gets through Lara, and then the two can fight in a really lucrative fight. That would be would be the best and biggest fight in the division, even though Tim's sort of coming up and hasn't looked his best, and Charlo's been out for 3 years. I think Charlo versus Zoo would still have a massive amount of appeal to it, probably more than any other fight in that division. So we'll see. And again, it makes sense with the PBC connection, Lara and then Charlo. So yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Drew, and some good points. All right, sweet as. What do you got there, mate? I heard you say recently on Walking Boxing that you don't think much of Dan Raphael. Why is that? I generally find him pretty informative and knowledgeable. The reason I say that, sweet as, is because I do respect his opinion. He's a good newsbreaker. One of the more informed journalists out there. Probably just comes back to having met him, sweet as, with the Twins. Now, granted, this is in 2017. The boys had only been pro for a couple of years. We saw him. It was at the Superfly tournament in Carson, California. The night the Thai fighter knocked out Chocolatito Gonzalez, and it was a great card of fights that night. And we actually ran into him and introduced ourselves, and he gave us absolutely nothing, mate. And we had the boys there. They wanted to meet him. Just pretty much shook our hands, looked the other way, and just said, yeah, whatever, and kept walking. So I know maybe it's a little bit petty, but I'm a big believer in treating everyone the same. And it's not like he's a superstar or anything there, sweet as, is he? I mean, he's a journalist. Yes, he's well-informed. He's a pretty big name in that field. But in my opinion, he's just a journalist. That's it. I'm just going to turn this that way for a sec there, guys. There we go. That's probably better. So that's probably why I don't think much of him personally there, sweet as. But as a journalist, yeah, no, he's, as I said, one of the best out there. So he gave us very, very little and wasn't interested in even having a chat. Nothing. And I would have thought, you got two guys that had the Team Maloney gear on. Both of them had the Team Maloney gear on. You'd at least say, oh, g'day, boys. So who are you? Where you from? What's going on? Nothing. Just, yeah, g'day. Shook our hands and kept walking. So that's where that comes from there, sweet as. All right. Okay. You're heading over to Auckland for the fights on Saturday. Good stuff. Like you, I think Floyd can get the W. It's a tough fight, but I think if Floyd can rough Niika up a bit and grind him down, he can do it. I think for the first 3 or 4 rounds that Niika will give Floyd all he can handle. Very talented guy, Niika. I've just got a feeling that if Floyd can hang tough for the first 4, maybe 5 rounds, and even out of those first 5 rounds, possibly win a couple of those rounds. As I said, I think Niika will start fast, but then I think in the second half of the fight, that Floyd can really, as Niika starts to slow down, he can get close, Masson, really start to dig deep and go to the head, the body, and rough him up. And I just think he can finish over the top of him. I think it's going to be a very, very close fight, but I've got Floyd in a very close decision, maybe 6 rounds to 4 or something like that. Could even be a split decision, but I think you're in for a good one, sweet as, and good on you for supporting boxing over in New Zealand. All right, Drew. It was nice. It was nice work from Zepeda on the weekend in what I consider his greatest performance to date. Like him or not, Shakur's wins over Zepeda and Lopez are starting to age very well. Yeah, well, especially in light of yesterday's fight, Drew, I just thought he just was unstoppable, didn't he? I know every fighter at that level can be beaten, but the southpaw stance, he gets low, He's just always in your space, in your zone. He just does not give you any respite. And I thought Lamont Roach fought pretty well for the first 2 or 3 rounds. Zapata then started to get close. And once he started to get close and Lamont Roach started to sort of wind down a little bit and started to gas just a little bit, Zapata just went to work and actually picked the pace up. So I did say on Walking Boxing this morning that the only way I could see the average type of fight, I'm not talking about the likes of Shakur Stevenson, who's probably always going to have someone like Zapata's measure. I'm talking about just the average lightweight out there, apart from those really top guys. And I think the only way is to maybe try and time him coming in and bomb him out. You know, throw one big punch or 2 big punches and just time him. I just don't think you can outwork him. And he's a solid guy. He's got a good chin. So good luck even landing the big bomb. But yeah, he's going to be tough to beat. I think you got to have the right type of style. I mean, I'd love to see someone like Zapata in against Raymond Moritalia. I think that'd be a great fight because Moritalia would be, I think, to be able to go with Zapata inside, outside, wherever it might be, and the pace. Didn't look great yesterday, Moritalia, but again, the weight issue might have been a factor as well. So I would love to see Zapata also against Tank Davis. I think that'd be a ripping fight. Yeah, so some good fights out there for Zapata, but now he's got that WBC belt around his waist. Well, he's got a few shots he can call, and yeah, I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat William Zapata. And you're right, it was his best performance to date, I would think. All right, raising pulse. Raising pulses, raising hell. I like that. We'll call you Raising Hell. All right, g'day. At HBO Boxing in their later years, they used to measure fighters' arm spans, armpit to end of the fist. Just about every promotion, every other promotion measures the wingspan. Which do you think is more relevant? Good question, Raising Hell, but I don't think either one of them is that relevant at all. Doesn't matter how, well, I was going to say, it doesn't matter how tall and long reach you have. It doesn't matter. We'll just ask Sebastian Fundora. But look, it could be a factor in some aspects, but I think overall, if you can get inside there and you can go to work and you can time your shots properly, I don't think it really matters. Which stat is better? I think probably the armpit to the end of the fist there, mate, I would think. Just because that's the definite measure of your reach. Armpit to armpit, I mean, you could have your chest in there as well. I mean, I don't know. That sort of comes into effect, but yeah, probably the armpit to the fist, mate. But again, I don't think it really matters when you're in there. If you've got a good fighter who can slip and weave and time you and get inside and do the work, I don't think it matters that much at all. Unless you're 6'6" or 6'7", what he is, Sebastian Fundora, then it's probably a factor. But an inch here, an inch there, I don't think it really matters that much. All right, another one from you, Raising Hell. I've seen some of your fights online. Admire your fast hands, angles, great jab and fitness. Well, there you go. You know your stuff there, Raising Hell. Even more impressed with your humble, respectful, honest, and jovial wit on your channel. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. Well, normally the people that I suppose in all walks of life, Raising Hell, if they're content with what they've done and who they are, then they are humble and respectful and honest. That's just the way it is. And normally it's the big mouths out there that try and convince you how good they are and what they've done. They're probably the ones that are normally full of shit. So, yeah, no, I really appreciate your comments there, though. Raising Hell, very, very much appreciated, and I'm glad you like the channel. All right, we got another one from you. Geez, a few comments here I've got to get through. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through all the... I might just go to the top here. I think I've got through most of them. Apologies if these aren't in order. Drew, I feel terrible for Roach. There is an extremely strong argument that he beat Tank and Pitbull. After the weekend's conclusive loss, he's now 2 draws against notable opponents, a bargaining power decline. Yeah, look, end of the day, he got his shot, Drew, and whether he deserved it or not, I think the Pitbull fight was at 140 as well, wasn't it? I think so. Look, it is what it is. Yes, I'm with you. He's unlucky, but look, he got a shot at the WBC belt on the weekend, Drew, and unfortunately he wasn't good enough to take it. Yeah, I actually thought, the Pitbull fight could have gone either way. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion. I thought Tank did enough to win that fight. As good as Roach was, I thought Tank just did enough, maybe by a round, or 7 rounds to 5 or something like that. Pitbull, could have gone either way. I think the draw was a good result. But look, end of the day, he was beaten conclusively yesterday, and it's a tough sport. Nothing's guaranteed, and it is what it is. I've got a feeling that there might be another couple of chapters for Roach there, Drew. I think just the fact that he's gone pretty well against those other guys, and he's a semi-big name in the division, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another crack at some stage. All right, what have we got there? Oscar Everingham. How are you, Oscar? Love your work. Thank you very much, mate. I just wanted to grab your thoughts on Davis turning down the Haney fight. Mayweather really created a monster by monetising the O on the record. Yeah, look, I'm with you. Well, I've obviously discussed my thoughts on the Haney fight. But it's just this mentality these days. And you're right, it's about this monetising the O. But the problem is, I mean, how many of these guys are going to be able to get to 50 and 0? And look, the thing with Floyd, though, is that he really, you're right, monetised the O and really played on it. But it was right towards the end of his career. I don't think he ever set out, well, maybe he set out to, but I don't think this undefeated record was a big thing for Mayweather until probably, I suppose when he came back against Marquez, wasn't it? He had a couple of those legacy fights. Maybe the last 3 or 4 fights, definitely, I think it was about the O. But before that, I just think he was giving us the fights we wanted. Now, I'm not a massive fan of Mayweather personally, but I cannot understand the hate that he gets and the criticism that he gets. I know it's all about, we fought him, when he decided to, and a lot of them were past their prime or past their peak and this and that. Look at his resume. Look at the names on it. I mean, it is just absolutely unbelievable to go through his record and see the guys that he has fought. Now, I'm just going to give you a couple. Actually, it's going to, hang on, let's get me to log in here. See if it takes me to it. No, it's not gonna. But I mean, just go through Mayweather's record, with Pacquiao and De La Hoya and Canelo and Hatton and Mosley, and this is just at welterweight. Cotto, all these guys, and that's just at welterweight. I don't understand the hate. I mean, you got someone, I know I'm going to upset some Rocky Marciano fans here, but Rocky Marciano with his 49-0 records gets lauded for his 49-0 record. Go have a look at his record. It is deplorable. You talk about fighting guys past their peak and past their prime and these old men, all approaching 40, and people love Rocky Marciano. He never gets criticised, well, not often, never really gets criticised about his opponents. Joe Louis and Jersey Joe Walcott and Izzard Charles and Archie Moore, all well past their peak. And Mayweather gets absolutely crucified. Just go and have a look at his record. I'll always stand on the hill defending Mayweather and what he's done, even though I'm not a massive fan of him personally, as I said. But I cannot understand how Marciano gets all the laudits or the praise, and he doesn't. So now, just 1 second here. I think I was just 1 second, guys. I think I've forgotten something tonight. I was actually going to have Dylan Biggs on. I think I don't know whether I sent him the link. Just hang on a sec, and I might send it to him. He might come on now. Geez, that's not good, is it? Where is it? Sorry about that, guys. Just give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to send it to him now, and didn't actually get a message from him. So there we go. All right. Geez, I better apologise for that. Not. Sorry for the late reply. Let's see if we can get him on. Sorry, guys. All right. Here we go. Sorry about that. Yes. So, yeah, just getting back to the show. That is my mistake. So, apologies. I did actually plan on having Dylan Biggs on tonight, and I forgot to send him the link, if you can believe that. So, hopefully he's still around and he can come on. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll move on. But yeah, just to go back over that with Mayweather, again, can't understand why he gets all the hate that he does. So we'll move on. And again, apologies to Dylan if he's actually out there waiting to come on. I forgot all about it. I didn't forget today. I remembered. And anyway, we'll move on. All right, what else we got here? I think I'm back to the order. All right. Raising Hell. What's your thoughts on IBC? Personally, I think it's exciting, but it's essentially a barroom brawl with some rules and a ref who wins between KO artist Hardman and perennial Aussie contender Kama KO. I like the IBC Raising Hell. I think it's a great concept. I think unlike this bare knuckle stuff, which I'm not a big and not a lot of fan or a big fan of all the what's this slap bullshit they do. I actually don't mind it. I think the guy behind it, Daniel, someone I think his name is, very, very good operator. I think he's really obviously done his research, and I think it's a really good concept. I like it that it's not that real brutal type of thing that bare knuckle boxing is. But it's the same sort of rules, I suppose. I like the little thing they have in the middle with the with the brawling thing, and the light goes off or whatever it is, and you point to the what is it, like a triangle or something, and away you go. I think who wins between Hardman and Kamikayo? I think I'd back Hardman in that type of scenario, raising hell. I just think that is his environment. He just thrives in that. And I'm not sure whether Kamikayo is going to have the experience. I know boxing-wise he has a lot of experience, a whole different ball game with this sort of stuff. So, yeah, I don't mind. Look, I won't go out of my way to watch the IBC. It's really not my cup of tea. But as far as being a really good concept, a really good idea, and it's got a lot of legs, I think it'll go okay. I think it's going to... Well, the fact that Main Event jumped on this straight away after one show and started doing the pay-per-views, I think it's fantastic. So we will see. So, but yeah, I don't mind it, and I think the guy behind it is a guy that obviously knows his stuff. All right, gone through a Big J. All right, conspiracy theory here. I'm thinking that MVP is in cahoots with OnlyFans. How are they allowed to sponsor anything anyway to turn these girls into OnlyFan girls? Just a concern as a sponsor of MVP. Conspiracy theory. You're thinking that MVP is in cahoots with OnlyFans. Well, they are a sponsor, I suppose. I haven't got a problem with it, BJ. It's not really something I've ever looked at. Obviously, I'm a happily married man. But, well, I think everyone's got this perception of OnlyFans that it's all the smutty sort of stuff. I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's just exclusive content. Now, I know probably 99% of the time it means the smutty stuff, but don't know. I haven't got a problem with it. I mean, there's so many things that, I mean, at one stage, remember, it was cigarettes and all that sort of stuff and alcohol. I've got no dramas with it. It's just, again, I don't know well, maybe I do know what goes on in those channels. I've read about it and everything else, but yeah, I'm not that stressed. And what do you got there? So you're thinking they want to turn all the boxes into OnlyFans? Well, I don't know. Well, in my opinion, if OnlyFans gives the girls a secondary income and they're not really exploiting themselves on there, well, I've heard there's some of the girls actually just have really sort of in-depth sort of training stuff. I know that's probably only one of a few. I'm digging myself into a ditch here, aren't I? But I don't know. I haven't got a problem with it. I do have a problem though with them getting on the scales and with the paint on and all that sort of stuff on and no top on. Just with I've got a problem with that. I don't like that. But if it's just advertising OnlyFans as a rule, well, or just on its own, I haven't got an issue with it. As long as they do it tastefully, if it's on their shorts or their singlets or whatever it might be, or on the ring apron, whatever. Each to their own. If people want to pay to watch that stuff, I mean, you're paying for content, then good on you. So, but as far as being a conspiracy that they're trying to turn all the boxes into OnlyFans girls, I don't think so. Maybe they might say, hey, look, have you ever thought about doing it? Maybe. I'm not sure they get a kickback. Who knows? But I think that all the girls, their own bosses, I suppose, and they can make whatever decision they want to make. They're all adults, most of them. All right, Glenn, evening all. Really enjoyed both the 135-pound title fights yesterday. Was really impressed by Zepeda, especially. One thing I thought you loved was his use of the jab to set up his follow-up shots. Yeah, Triple G, yeah, I liked it. Southpaw version. I mean, Triple G was more of a stand-up type of fighter, wasn't he? Zepeda likes to sort of get low and sort of come in behind that southpaw jab. Just think he did a great job of just breaking Lamont Roach down. I just don't think he ever really got a look in, did he? So apart from those first couple of rounds. So I thought, yeah, again, great performance from Zepeda. And, yeah, I thought he did a great job. And Moritalia, as I said, a little disappointing, but again, struggled a little bit with the weight. It looked like he was done at 135, and I think at 140 he'll be a hell of a lot better. All right, Asbot. Charlo at 160 in Oz would be a great fight. I think it would sell It would be a fun night, and there's that backstory between them. Yeah, well, of course, 3.5 years ago, Charlo was supposed to fight Tim in Vegas, and fell over when Charlo apparently got injured or something, and then, of course, took the Canelo fight straight after that. Yeah, it would sell. Be a massive sell here in Australia. Charlo and Zeus. Probably, I think, the biggest fight they could make here in Australia, or really involving Tim at the moment, is Charlo. Let's face it, the Fundora fight will never happen again. I doubt that Ortiz and Ennis will want to come up to 160. I don't think Tim really wants a piece of those guys at the moment as well. So Charlo at 160 seems to make sense, doesn't it? Lara would probably have a lot of appeal here in Australia because of the Michael Zarafa angle. I'm sure No Limit would really talk that up. But yeah, apart from Lara, it would definitely be Charlo, that's for sure. All right, Richard. Looking forward to the Nieka Mason card in New Zealand. Alex Leopold Jr. is on the undercard. Do you rate him or still don't know because of his opponents? Well, I'm looking forward to the Nieka Mason card. Actually, I'll quickly bring that up. If I can get through this little wall that keeps putting up, and you got to, hang on, there it is. Yeah, you got to keep putting in that you're not a robot and all this stuff. A quick look at the card, guys. So obviously Nieka and Mason is the main event. We've got Sheila Yama and Jessica Messina. Okay, yep, Jessica Messina. Yep, Aussie girl. Alex Leopold Jr. So was he 9-0-1 against Arsene Fozzo 5-5. That'll actually be not a bad test for him, actually. I don't really recognise it. Liam Missum. I don't really recognise a lot of the other fighters on that card. Hemi Hio or Hio. He hasn't got an opponent on BoxRec at the moment, but yeah, it should be a good card. It's on. Was it on? It's not Stan, is it? It's on. I think it's on. Just on main event or KO for $40, $50. So, yeah. As far as who's he fighting? Did I say? Arsene Fozzo. He'll give him some rounds, Richard, but it's hard to say what Alex Leopold Jr. is like because he hasn't really been tested yet. Looks the part, but I suppose Fozzo will give him a test. He's actually fought a couple of good fighters too, Fozzo, from memory. Where is it? Just bring up his record here. So he's lost to, well, shit, he hasn't fought for nearly 2 years when he was beaten by Bowie Tupou, who was, of course, just bombarded by Terra Moana. He's lost to Kiki Latelli, Joseph Goodall, Tawase Vosawatu, Justice Huni. So he's been in there with some good guys. And that's probably about it, yeah. So he hasn't really beaten any of them, but he's been tough. And I think he went the distance with Justice Huni from, no, he was stopped in the 4th round. That's right. So, yeah, anyway, should be a good card anyway, mate. Oh, is that right? Liam Messam is a former All Black. There you go. I didn't know that. Well, he's on there against, who's he fighting? He's obviously probably just a journeyman. If he's an All Black, they'll want to get him a win. So he's fighting Luke Siaki, who's 2-1-1. So Liam Messam is 7-1-1. Okay, there you go. Who's that? Another All Black, Renee Ranger on the undercard. He's fighting Manu Vatuve. Yep, I'm not really familiar with those guys. All right. Yep, Glenn, Charlo Zoo is an easy sell. What else have we got? Hang on a second there, guys. Sorry, guys. I'm just responding to Brendan here. Brendan Smith, his manager. All right, I've sent him a message. We'll see if he can come on. All right, Ado, can't let this stream go without mentioning the fight between O'Leary and Chamberlain yesterday. If anyone missed it, watch it. Fight of the Year contender. I did hear that there, Ado. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I worked yesterday and I watched the card with Zapata and Roach, but I will check it out. I did see some highlights, but I have heard that it was an absolute ripper. So I will check it out, mate. All right, Glenn, I think Lara stops Tim inside 6. He's sitting on his punches these days. Yeah, well, sorry there, mate. right. Sorry, I'm just communicating here with Dylan to try and send him the link and that there. Yep. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how we go. Inside 6 rounds. That is a pretty bold statement there, Glenn. Look, I think if the Lara that turned up against Michael Zarafa turns up against Tim, it could possibly happen. I don't know. I think if Tim doesn't have a lot more head movement, then I can see Lara maybe getting to him. But if he moves his head a bit, I'm just not sure whether it's too late for him, to be honest. But we will see. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I'm still communicating here. A special guest tonight, hopefully, Dylan Biggs. All right. We'll see how we go. What else we got there? Sorry to do this, guys. I'm sort of doing 2 things at once here. We'll get back to what we're talking about. Pound for Pound says, for a bunch of OnlyFans chicks, they seem to be fighting at high level. Our Aussie girls, yeah. Well, I don't think Sky Nicholson's part of it, is though. Is it though? Is she? I think Shanika is. Pretty sure Desley is. Don't think Case Scotty's. I don't think. Let's hope not. Anyway, we'll see. All right, PJH. I reckon Tim should steer clear of Charlo and have another fight working with Jeff against someone in the top 10 and seek more improvement. Then have a crack at Lara in Australia. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I've just got a feeling just a gut feeling. I think they realise that Tim probably needs to get a bit of a move on in his career again. I mean, it's the 3rd part of his career, whatever it is now. So I reckon they're going to want to get Lara before someone else does. Now, that might be a famous last words, I suppose, doing that. But I think they're going to want Lara next, I would think. I reckon they're going to want a world title fight with him. I mean, you got to take them while they're there, and Lara's there for the picking. And he hasn't got an opponent. He's due for defence. The problem is that he fought in December last year, although he has been very inactive, hasn't he? So maybe they might wait until the end of the year. He won't really care if he's out till November or December, and that would probably suit Tim, I would think, too. All right. So Glenn agrees with who was that comment? Oh, yeah. I'd fight a quality domestic fighter. Mizudia comes to mind, and then go for a title. I'm not sure whether Tim would go back to fighting someone like a Mizudia, Glenn. I know Cohen got a bit of publicity over the Charlo thing, but I just don't think he's anywhere near Tim's level. I mean, Nikita, apart from a couple of moments, really always stopped Mizudia, didn't he? So, yeah, I'm not so sure. I think they're going to look for the biggest fights for Tim, and I don't think they're really looking at tune-up fights for Tim. Kyle Mizudia, I just don't think it'll happen. So look, who knows? Maybe they might get another, what do you call it, a Nurja or Velasquez type of opponent. But I just think now he's got past Spence. I just think they're going to look for the biggest fights possible for Tim, and whatever happens, happens. So, all right, Perception Music. What do you got there? Shout out from West Coast, Seattle, Washington. There you go. I'm glad you go live at this time. I work late, so your lives are a perfect time for me. Wow, what a place to be there, mate. From Seattle, Washington, the home of, well, my favourite band of all time, Pearl Jam. Back in the day, so many great bands. But that's great. I've always wanted to go to Seattle, so I'm glad you like the show, mate. I'm not so sure what time it is over there at the moment. I'm assuming it would be, where is it? The world clock. I'm assuming it would be about 2:40 in the morning, something like that. So glad you enjoy it there, mate, and all the best over there in Seattle. Richard, on Raymond Moritalia moving up to junior welterweight after the Robson fight. Who's next? This bloke is class. Yeah, he is. He's very good fighter there, Richard. Well, I would hope it'd be someone like a Shakur Stevenson. I think that'd be a ripper fight with Moritalia and Stevenson. I know Stevenson's sort of looking at the fight with Haney, but he wants the WBO title not to be on the line for whatever reason. He wants it to be at 140. But Haney's, well, who knows with what happened the other day, maybe he might look at it, but Raymond Moritalia and Shakur Stevenson makes a lot of sense. It won't be next because Stevenson will want to have a fight, I would think, in the next sort of 3 or 4 months. Moritalia wouldn't fight till probably the end of the year, maybe even the start of 2027. As for Robson, I'm not so sure what's next for him. He's sort of come up short a few times, hasn't he? So, but yeah, big fan of Moritalia. Richard, I think he's a very good fighter. Yeah, good call there, Glenn. The 140 IBF belt is vacant, so maybe you could have a run at that. I'm pretty sure that being the IBF champion at 135, they'll be able to go up to 140 and fight for that belt. And I think someone did say today, though, that Delgado is also a Robert Garcia fighter. Hang on, how do you pronounce it? Where is it there? Hang on. Lindolfo Delgado is apparently a Robert Garcia fighter as well, so that might be a little complicated. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think he's definitely capable of winning another belt at 140 there, mate. Pound for pound. Mentioning Dan Raphael reminds me of a constant irritation in boxing. If you've never had a fight, you can't be an expert. Sometime Peter Bedell pisses me off. Wow. Even though I know he's trying his best. I think, yeah, look, I can understand why you might think that, with Dan Raphael or even Peter Bedell. But one thing I can guarantee with Peter, having sort of spoken to him outside of on this program, whatever, is he's trying his best to be educated. I think he leaves the real expert comments up to the Paulie Malignaggi's and Sean Porters and these type of people and Danny Greens, and just sort of, as I say, stays in his lane. But he is trying his best to sort of get up with speed. And I think, as I said, Peter's sort of taken a little bit of a step back about being the expert commentary guy. He's more so just an extra comment and sort of help steering the conversation towards a certain way. So, but he's trying his best. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting point there, pound for pound. Can you be an expert and never having fought? Like Dan Raphael, and you can obviously see that Dan Raphael has never fought, I can tell you, or his mate, what's his name, Ellie Seckback, and those types of guys. Zepeda's footwork in and out was great. He showed that early on. I think he learned that from the Shakur loss. Yeah, I think he was. I think also perception is that the fact that he'd been out, I think, for about a year now. I think he'd had 3 fights in 9 months, so it was a little bit sort of, maybe worn out. I think he looked totally refreshed yesterday. And I think the way he fights, you can't fight that often. I think you'd want to fight every 8 or 9 months with the way Zepeda fights. Having 3 fights in 9 months was never probably going to end well for him. And unfortunately, he come up against Shakur Stevenson. It was absolutely red hot that night. So, I think he was a lot better he's obviously worked on some things. He's obviously being in there with Shakur. Lamont Roach, even though he's an orthodox fighter and Shakur was a southpaw, you can sort of see fights a little similar. So I think Zepeda maybe learnt a little bit from the Shakur fight. On top of that, obviously worked on a few things as well and had a year off, so he was ready to go. What's that? My mic is silent. Okay. All right, Glenn, you don't agree? Tank did not beat Roach. Okay. Do you think Keyshawn will fight in Zuffa? Oh, who knows? Perception. Maybe. Who knows? Well, his options would have to be limited now, wouldn't they? You wouldn't have thought that anyone's really going to want too much to do with him. The Top Rank would be pissed with him. Is he still a top ranked fighter? He was anyway, wasn't he? Maybe it's finished, and maybe he will go to Zuffa. But yeah, I don't know. Don't know. Anything's possible. Oscar, what I mean about monetizing the O in regards to Keyshawn Davis is once you lose that O, your value drops immensely. I wonder if he views potentially losing his O in a very losable fight is worth more. Yeah, maybe. I've just got Dylan coming into the chat there. I'm just going to allocate him a, where are we? Allocate Dylan a spot there. I'll get him on in a second. I'll just answer these questions. So Dylan, if you're watching there, mate, don't worry. No one can see you at the moment. I'll get you on in a sec. What I mean about monetizing the O in regards to Keyshawn is once you lose that O, your value drops immensely. Yeah, well, you're right, but I don't think Mayweather worried too much about that as he went on. The last 3 or 4 fights he did, but before that, I don't think he did. It was just about giving us the best fights we could get. I wonder if he views potentially losing his O in a very losable fight is worth more. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, look, who knows what goes through these guys' heads sometimes there, Oscar. I don't know what happens, but yeah, you got to wonder sometimes, don't you, what they're thinking about, especially giving up a world title fight. So guys, having said that, we're going to put the questions on pause for a little bit because we have a special guest, and I first thing I'm going to do is apologise to Dylan because I forgot all about having him on. And it was actually my wife said, "Weren't you supposed to have Dylan on tonight?" And she sent me a message. So we're going to get him on now. Hopefully he can hear us. Dylan Biggs, how are you there, mate?
Good, thanks, mate.
Welcome to the show. For everyone that's watching, this is Dylan Biggs, middleweight contender and WBC Grand Prix winner from was it earlier this year or late last year, Dylan, and obviously a former Nikita Zoo opponent as well. So, mate, first of all, welcome to the show. Great to have you on, and great to hear the updates happening soon.
Thanks, mate. It's good to have me. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, Grand Prix finished up December last year, so yeah, it's been a long slog to get where we are now, and 8 months of inactivity trying to get back in the ring now. I think we got less than 4 weeks now, so it's kicking its way through.
So tell us about the Grand Prix for starters, Dylan. We all watched the back here. Unbelievable effort. I think you had 5 fights from memory. Can you just inform us a little bit about the tournament itself and also what has been the hold up in the last 8 months? And I have sort of seen some cryptic sort of things on the Smithies Facebook page, but there's been sort of nothing that's sort of come to hand. Can you sort of enlighten us with what sort of happened in the last 8 months?
Yeah, so as far as the Grand Prix, it's what was it, 128 fighters from 32 different countries, and we all kind of fought in a tournament style through four weight divisions, and it was like a knockout sort of thing, tournament style. So two guys fight in a draw, and then you make your way down till you get to the final. So it was 5 fights between I think it was June and December last year. So we fought 5 times between then, and I fought in Toowoomba at the start of last year as well. So it was a 6 fight year for me. It was pretty good. And then
Yep.
as far as this inactivity so far, we just the winner from the tournament. How it was set out was the winner is it becomes the mandatory for the WBC silver belt, which as far as the guy in my division, the silver champ is ranked number 3 at the moment in the WBC. So we were really keen on that, and we had a big year and a lot of momentum, so we were keen to keep the ball rolling, and we pushed the challenge on him and got a lot of just a lot of headaches from him. Like we sorted it out, and then it took a good 3 or 4 months just to get the ball rolling and get the fight going and on the ball. But even after it was all sorted, contracts were signed, and there was an agreed date. They kind of just the closer it got to the fight, they just went cold and just stopped answering messages and emails. And yeah, that fight window, the fight day was supposed to be the last date it could have been was the 30th of June. So we're obviously past that now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and they just went cold on us. So I guess we're hoping to get the WBC's legal team involved at the moment and see the process of getting him stripped. Be ideal. I'd love to fight him, but he's proving nothing but problems at the moment. So yeah, we're just gonna go from there and see what happens. Hopefully, I can get him stripped and then get another obviously as qualified opponent for the time being to yeah fill in the gap and get me that belt.
So tell us a bit more about the Grand Prix. I know we want to talk about the upcoming fight, but the Grand Prix, how did you get selected for it? And I know there's a few other Aussies in there as well, but how did you get selected and how did it all come about? And more importantly, how was the tournament as a whole? It looked great the way it was all organised.
Being selected was purely great management, to be honest. Like I've always been blessed to have Brendan as my manager, and Brendan Smith from Toowoomba, and he's always sorted me out, getting me the best fights and the best deals for my fights. And he's got connections throughout the WBC, and there wasn't many people who got onto this card, especially from Australia. There was two other boys, and they were both from the same club, made by the same management. So I guess there was only two managers in Beaudesert that had the lockdown on the fight. So yeah, I guess it's just good connections through my manager got me the fight.
Mm. So you obviously fought Nikita Zoo before that fight. We've got a question here from Shadow Boxer who says, How did you learn a lot from the zoo fight, and did you take those lessons into the Grand Prix? Because I'm pretty sure all your opponents were southpaws.
Yeah, yeah. That was a bit of a headache. Yeah, I definitely learnt a lot from the fight. I think, one of the lessons was I was definitely in the wrong division. I was cutting way too much weight to get down to a super welterweight, where I'm now at middleweight and I feel much better. Being able to put on a bit more size and be a bit more comfortable in my division. And I think the lesson that I've learnt would be I think it's the little wins that get you over the line rather than the setting the big goals. Like just the little daily wins will get you there better than the big extravagant thing that you set yourself out for.
Mm. What did you, apart from obviously fighting Southpaw and Nikita himself, what did you get out of the actual build up? Because there's obviously with the zoo name and pay per view and all the rest of it. Did you think that held you in good stead as far as going over to Saudi Arabia for all the WBC stuff with the amount or the experience of going through such a big fight over here in Australia?
I've always been under the pretense that as soon as you've had a reasonable crowd, like I'm gonna say, I don't know, maybe 500 to 1,000 people. I don't think there's much of a difference between 500 to 1,000 to
Yeah.
50,000. I think a big crowd's a big crowd regardless. I think people get wrapped up in the moment and the hype behind it, and you're there for one job, and that's to fight and get it over and done with. You know what I mean?
Mm. What about the actual like build up to the fight though, with the press conferences and all the weighing and all the hoo ha that goes with the No Limit show?
Um, Not a fan of the media, regardless. To be honest, like getting on here for me was a bit of a stretch. I can't even. I don't
We
like
can
using
blame
my
your
phone
manager for
most of
that
the
as
time.
well.
Yeah, I know. I can't use my phone most of the time. It's just I take too much time in my day. The build up was good. I mean, I got a lot of social media backing behind it, and I guess I found a bit of my own audience through getting that fight night. Look, regardless of result, we had a great camp, minus breaking my hand midway through it, but that's just an excuse at this
Through the
point.
camp.
Yeah, but like I don't bring it up because it's just
Mm.
there's no point. Fight's over and done with. He won fair and square. I shouldn't have taken if that was a big enough problem for me. I shouldn't have taken the fight, so I can't blame that at all. Um, yeah, we had a good camp. And media was as good to us as they are when you're fighting their golden boy. You know, like
Mm.
they're not going to love us. They don't want us to put on our best performance, but that's all good. That's part of the game.
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean, a great experience for you, and obviously you dropped Nikita in the first round as well, and as the fight went on, he obviously looked to break you down to the body, but obviously the experience was great. I've got another question before we get on to the fight coming up, but here's one from Glenn. Which of the 160-pound champs would you most like to fight? There's a couple of them are very beatable.
Whoever puts their hand up first, like I'm not gonna. I've never been one to call out the big names. Like it's not. I'm not in a position to go calling people out at the moment. But like I've never been one to turn down any fight. Any fight that gets offered to me, I'm always the first one to put my hand up. So whoever I guess is lined up first, I'll take them on first.
What about here in Australia? There's a lot of pretty good fighters in the 160-pound division, even 168, I suppose, wanting to go up. Any of those around there? Maybe the last names are Rafa or one of those type of guys, or
Yeah, no, I'd fight any of the 160 pounders in Australia. I'd fight Zarafa. I'd fight all of them. I just I'm just a country boy who loves to fight. Like I've I don't get behind all the media. I just like to let my hands do the talking. And I guess it's a pretty old school take on the on a very new sport.
mm.
Um, but yeah, very very bare bones. I just want to fight.
Mm. Now, just we are talking to Dylan Biggs, middleweight contender there, guys. I apologise, didn't have time to put your name across the bottom there, mate. But so as far as the fight coming up, tell us a little bit about the opponent, the date, location, all that sort of stuff, and all the people out there, and how can they watch it? Probably more importantly.
I'll tell you what I know because I don't know very much. I don't get myself too involved with my opponents. I feel like people get wrapped up in doing too much studying on their opponent, whereas I try to be the best version of myself. He's from Turkey. I know that. His name is something I probably shouldn't try to pronounce, but I think he's ranked in the IBF, and we should hopefully be fighting for a IBF regional belt, which would hopefully give me a top 15 ranking in also the IBF. So then it'd put me inside the top 10 in the WBC and inside the top 15 in the IBF.
Okay.
And it's August 30 at Ipswich Turf Club and Racecourse. I think it's the same thing.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's being streamed. I think it's like a first and best dress, get your tickets and show up kind of deal.
Okay. So there'll be no streaming at all. You don't think? So no one's going to pick it up.
As far as I know, I don't think so.
Hmm. All right. Well, so any other names that we might recognise on that card, or
Um, I think Jed Morris is fighting. He's another Toowoomba boy. Um, and there's some Ipswich boys fighting. I think Kavana, he has a Polynesian last name. I don't want to butcher. He's another not a Toowoomba, an Ipswich boy that'll be fighting on the card. That'll be another banger. And yeah, there's some good boys on the card. It'll be a good one.
all right. So on some other, just apart from that, Dylan, just a couple of your thoughts on other things. Tim Zoo and Errol Spence last night. Did you watch it? And what did you think?
I watched maybe 8 or 9 rounds of it. I was actually at my daughter's fourth birthday party when the fight was
Yeah.
going, so I took as much time as I could out of that moment to take it in. But I thought that was a very beaten Errol Spence. I don't think that was an Errol Spence that was pre-car accident, or even
Mm,
even the same one that fought Terence Crawford. I
mm,
think it just seemed like he was very one-dimensional. He'd come and throw his first attack, and then he had nothing after that.
mm.
Tim fought well. I'm glad he's come up a division, and hopefully we can get that fight. That'd be a great fight. I'm definitely interested in.
I bet.
Um, yeah, not too much to take from it. I think Tim's had better performances, and I think was definitely a retirement fight for Errol Spence.
Yeah. What about your former opponent, Nikita Zoo? Thoughts of his big fight with Ben Marnie coming up? I don't know. Have you ever done any rounds with Ben at all? Or
I've done a fair few rounds with Ben. Yeah, we're good mates, me and Ben Marnie. And me and Nikita, we've done a couple rounds as well, and we get along now. Um, the ball's in their court. I'm not going to pick sides on this one. I think it's an awesome 50-50 Aussie fight. I'll definitely be tuning in. I don't watch much Australian boxing, but I'll definitely be tuning in for that one. I think it'd be an awesome fight, and I couldn't tell you the winner of that one. I know they've both been training their asses off, put great camps in. So yeah, it's the closest to 50-50 you get in Australian boxing.
yeah, well, yeah, it's going to be a great fight, and I think I don't know about you if you saw the press, well, the little press conference sit down sort of thing they did in the studio. That how respectful they were of each other. And do you ever sort of get involved in all that sort of stuff, or you just like to just punch on and not worry about all the theatrics? Being a country boy, I doubt you'd be too stressed about all that.
Um, I really like how they showed that you don't need to talk rubbish and be a bit of a clown to sell fights. You don't need to mouth off and like yeah, I think skills sell fights, and I think that's been lost in Australian and world boxing at the moment. Too many people are disrespecting the champions and just taken away from the sport and trying to make a bit of a mockery. I liked the interview. They were both respectful. They gave props to each other, and they didn't feed into the media trying to like bait them into like making clips. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, apart from Ben sort of turning up, looked like he'd come straight from prison. I thought it was pretty. He had the tats and the wife beater and that on. I mean, I don't know whether he was trying to intimidate or whatever. I don't think. Well, you'd know better than anyone. I don't think you can really get into Nikita's head. I wouldn't have thought. He doesn't seem to be the type of bloke you could rattle much at all.
No, yeah, he's a good fella. He's got a good head on his shoulders. he was a bit different for our media stuff, but I mean, who am I to judge? He's a good person.
Would you want another crack at Nikita at some stage if you could? I mean, or Nikita or even Tim, or another question, were you in consideration for maybe Jamel Charlo when he was first sort of put up as coming out here?
We threw our hand up for Jamel, but I guess we were already beaten to the punch. I think he was looking for a bit of an easy comeback fight because he's had a fair layoff, I believe. But a bit of a mockery for Australian boxing for him to
Mm,
try to fight a person who's not even in his division, and he wouldn't. I wouldn't even call Colm Zudier a big super welterweight.
mm.
I think to have them fight was just a bit of a mockery for it. It made Jamel Charlo look bad. I think.
Yeah, I think I looked at a lot of people look back, especially even Stephen Fulton. I mean, what did you make of that 6 point? I mean, you obviously said before you've had some
Yeah,
weight issues. Have you ever had an agreed weight, got an extra 3, and still come over 6.5 pounds overweight?
he knew beforehand before the agreement. He knew he wasn't making weight. There's zero chance that he turned up and it was like bad scales or like some sort of mess up like that. That was he knew coming into it that he was going to be way over and he just accepted it and just wrecked the promotion.
Mm. Yeah, I'm with you. I just like you obviously you've been there when you get up in the morning and you the weigh in scheduled and everything else and the what was going through his head as he walked or went down the stairs or the elevator or whatever it was to go out there knowing he was so far out of or so far overweight. I mean, I just wonder what would have been going through his head. I actually said on the show last week that maybe what he should have done is maybe just call Wilson's team into a room and try and sort something out beforehand without going through it. But surely he would have been thinking, well, what do I do now? And he didn't seem too stressed about it, though, did he? He was quite relaxed about the whole thing.
No, I don't think he really cared, to be honest. I think
Mm,
maybe it was his way of getting an easy out of the fight. Like he was
mm,
hoping that they'd turn him away and then no questions asked. Like they just go, he went overweight, oh well. But it was complete. He may have struggled to make the weight, but him turning up overweight was completely intentional, and I think he
mm,
definitely should have informed the team like like beforehand,
mm,
because there's no reason that they had to see that the first time on the scales. And then I also think that there should be harsher repercussions for missing weight, especially by a margin like that, because for a fighter to make weight,
mm.
it's the fighters can be risking their life trying to make weight for those scales, and then there's people that kind of make a mockery of that, like 6.5 pounds.
He's a
That's a
serial
lot of
offender too,
weight.
isn't he? It's not the first time.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
yeah,
So
no, that'd really
what do you
annoy
think
me.
should
I
have happened
think
to him then?
finding or something like there needs to
Yeah.
be some sort of not punishment because obviously that's the wrong word, but like a repercussions. There
Mm,
needs to be something like that's for Liam to possibly risk passing out or like there's people who sees in the sauna and stuff like that to go through all that just for him to know that he was overweight and just go through and wreck the promotion like that. Yeah, there needs to be more severe punishment.
yeah, and this is the thing who sort of get the person who gets forgotten the most is Liam Wilson, who did all the hard work, and I know for a fact he struggles to make the weight, but he gave up the extra 3 pounds and did what he had to do, and then he that happens to him. I mean, I actually spoke to Glenn Jennings the other day and he said how proud of him he was that he actually jumped on the scales at the end because it would have been so bloody hard for him.
Yeah.
I mean what goes through your head in that situation?
As Liam, I think you're just gutted because
Mm,
you can't take that fight. That's a ridiculous margin because he's already a massive guy for his weight, and then to give away all that weight that he's just cut would just be so detrimental for his fight. People don't realize how important making your weight correctly is for your fight performance and putting it on correctly
mm,
because it's a big issue in boxing. People cut too much weight and then they get touched on the chin and then they're out cold.
mm. Yeah. What? Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. And just the disappointment on Liam's face was there for all to see. But mate, I've got a question for you here from Shadowbox. Who are some of the favourite fighters that you draw inspiration from? Do you have favourite fighters, or you just sort of go about your business?
I love Triple G. He's probably my favorite fighter ever. I like Marvin Hagler. I like Naoya Inoue. He's a really good of the smaller fighters. That Bam Rodriguez also, but that's probably it.
So do you get to any of the fights, mate, or do you any, like you said, you're not really a fan of Australian boxing? Do you sort of you obviously take notice of world boxing? Do you ever get to any of the events or?
Nah, I'm a homebody. I don't like to leave my house. I spend enough time in the gym twice a day, 6 days a week. So when I get time to spend with my two kids, I and my wife, that's my place I'd rather be rather than going out late. I don't drink. I don't do anything like that. So yeah, I'm just a homebody. I just stay here.
Well, I think you got a few fans in the chat anyway, mate. Just on your training camp before we let you go, just give everyone a bit of an indication of what your camp entails. You just said you train twice a day. How long's the camp, and what do you do in those two sessions?
The camp's been for 8 months. We've been waiting
Oh
for this.
well, yeah,
What?
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because we were waiting and just trying to get better and better and better since obviously January last year. I think I had 2 weeks off after the Grand Prix over Christmas, and then we were straight back into the gym, pumping out the sessions twice a day, 6 days a week, pretty much nonstop all the way through. Just working on my craft, getting better and better, and trying to bring the best performance that I can on a fight day. Like, and the only real difference that would be in the lead up to this fight is I've obviously got a definite fight now, so we can really ramp up the sparring. And yeah, I do this as for a job, so I treat it like a job. I
Mm,
twice a day, 6 days a week. I don't have 3 months off between fights like some of these fighters. I don't see the point. My
mm.
sponsors pay for me and go out of pocket for me to train and to be better at boxing, so I do that.
Yeah, well, sounds like you got some good people behind you up there. Just one last thing. When you said you've been out for 8 months, so what happens when you get a certain way down the track and then of course then you got to pull back and it's delayed or the opponent you're getting all these delays one after the other. What and you've said you've been training the whole time. So how does it work with training and then pulling back? I mean, what do you do when that happens? Do you have a rest or you just keep going but just scale it back a little bit?
Well, for as far as this camp goes, we we knew we'd get him within kind of a 6 month mark. So we just did a really hard long camp for that 6 months, and then there was a bit of an iffy couple of weeks there where we dialed it back a little bit. Still twice a day, 6 days a week, but like not just wrecking my body every day. So we dialed it back and worked on some things, and then after a week or two, we got this fight sorted. My manager organized it and got it set in stone for us. So now we ramp it right back up again, try to get back into the best form that I've ever been in.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. So again, so August 30th, and the opponent's name again? We you don't know
Bro, I don't have no idea.
because they had the announcement last week, but I couldn't remember seeing the name. I saw the date and the location and all that sort of stuff, but I can't remember who they said was the name if they actually even announced the name.
Yeah, the name's on there. It's just something Turkish. I can't remember it.
Okay. Well, either way, we'll all be watching anyway, mate. But look, really appreciate you coming on, mate. It sounds like you've got a few new fans in the chat there. Really wish you all the best, mate, and be great to sort of have you on after for another chat. I know it's not your cup of tea, I get it, but you did great, mate, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dylan. All the best, mate. All right, that was Dylan Biggs, middleweight contender, and how good was that? Really down to earth guy, and yeah, it was good to have a chat. Apologies, I did see some comments there about the microphone. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research here. I've got my microphone up 100%, and Dylan's was actually at 50%. So I'll do some homework, guys. I might have a setting that's not quite right, but I do apologise. But I was trying to look at a few things as Dylan was talking, but I just I couldn't work it out. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Yeah, that was good talking to Dylan. You could tell he's a little bit uncomfortable with the whole thing, but really good to have him on. And I'm going to try and do a little bit more of this going forward. Normally of a Wednesday, by the way, of having the guests on. But Monday or tonight was the only night sort of Dylan could make it work. Just quickly before I forget to, there'll be no guest on Wednesday night, but on the weekend we're going to be having Glenn Jennings on. He's over in the States at the moment with the Bull, Brandon Grush. But I spoke to him the other day, and he's going to come on and have a chat about Nikita and Liam Wilson and probably Brendan Grutch as well, what's going on over there, and whatever else is going on in the boxing world. So at this stage, I think it's going to might be like Sunday afternoon, well, early afternoon, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So keep a lookout for that. And we've also, we have some guests coming up. We've got Stephen Pios, the ring announcer. Everyone loves Stephen Pios. Let's make some noise for Steve. He's going to be on the show as well. Don't think it's going to be next week, the week after. I think he's going to come on. But in the meantime, we'll have someone else on as well. So every Wednesday, make sure you tune in because we'll have a special guest on to talk boxing. And again, thanks to Dylan Biggs for coming on tonight. And a very, very likeable fellow, and wish him all the best going forward. All right, so what else have we got here? We'll get back on track. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit behind. Roach is one of those fighters who will always be in controversial decisions. Counter puncher, low work rate, not a big puncher. He will land the cleaner counters, but he's open to being outworked. Yeah, yep, I agree. Look, he's going to be one of those fighters who he's going to get more opportunities, Brad. He's going to have more chances against these other guys because he's still a name. He's still a guy that sort of, I suppose, brings eyeballs and paydays and all that sort of stuff, even though he hasn't really had a lot of luck. But there'll be other guys out there that might want a piece of him. It could be someone like an Emiliano Vargas or someone like those type of guys who want to step up. Maybe Roach is maybe a little bit too advanced for him right here and now, but I think there'll still be some fights for him, or there might be just another contender wants a solid fight as an in-between fight, whatever. I think he'll get opportunities, but unfortunately, especially against the Petah, like you say there, if you're a counter puncher and you've got a low work rate and without being a big puncher, you're in all sorts of trouble. So that is the worst possible type of fighter you could be against William Zepeda. All right, so going back to Rocky Marciano here. One of the best and most honest interviews Rocky Marciano did was the one with World of Sport in Melbourne with Ron Casey and Ted Whitten in the studio. I remember that, Richard. I will say he spoke very, very well. And look, I loved Rocky Marciano. I just, as I said before, just can't understand why he gets all the love and someone like Floyd Mayweather just gets constant criticism. I know one's very likable, one might not be as likable, but break all of it down and forget about all what you think of each person, record for record. I mean, Mayweather has got one of the best resumes of all time, regardless of anybody. And again, I just don't understand why he gets so much hate. So, well, Mark, yeah, Marciano don't get any hate because he's not a complete arsehole like Mayweather. Simple as that. Yeah, I get that, Mark. But what I'm saying is just put that aside. I understand that, as I said, Rocky's was a very, very likable guy and someone you could look up to and admire and all that sort of stuff. And I know Floyd Mayweather's had his moments over the journey, but I'm not talking about. I'm talking about record for record, and Mayweather's just it's incomparable to most people's resumes. Glenn, he's a bit of a one-trick pony. That's Lamont Roach, catch and counter with his right hand. Repeat, lacks variation with his offense. Yeah, I think once Zepeda really put on the pressure yesterday, he just really had nowhere to go. He almost looked almost like he was disinterested at times. I think he almost realised at one stage that he wasn't going to be able to beat Zepeda. So it's almost like he just went through the motions. I actually thought he was going to get stopped late in the fight. I think it was the 11th or 12th round where Zepeda really started to put the pressure on. And Lamont Roach, he didn't really fire a lot back. He looked like he was on the verge of maybe throwing in the towel, but he hung in there, so you've got to give him credit for that. But that type of style against someone like Zepeda is not going to work unless you're supremely gifted like Shakur Stevenson. What do we got here? Drew. Speaking to Oscar, you raise a wonderful and valid point on monetizing the O with Davis, but the only thing I have a problem with is saying Floyd has created a monster. Davis makes his own decision. Yeah, that's a really good point too, Drew. I don't think you can blame Floyd for this. Now, I think Floyd was more about, yeah, you're right, monetizing. I think a few of you have commented on it there. But it is his legacy, isn't it? Floyd Mayweather, the 50-0. But I think his was more about, as I said before, just utilising the record later in his career. But he, at that stage of where Davis is at the moment, you would never see Floyd Mayweather make those type of decisions. He didn't make those decisions earlier in his career or even midway. Davis is making decisions. What is he, only midway through his career at the moment? Probably got 5, 6, 7 years left. Former world champion, but he's just digging his own grave as he goes. So I don't think you can sort of compare the two. Maybe, yes, the Floyd Mayweather zero thing might influence guys like Davis, but that's not Floyd's fault. He was just a great businessman when it came to boxing. Davis just made a very, very poor decision, and the fact he's only midway through his career makes it even worse. He should be taking risks at that stage. Pound for pound, try to get Kay Scott on your show. Great athlete, big fight coming up, and she can talk about OnlyFans. Well, I feel it's just a second income to cover their training expenses. Yeah, well, that's a good point too. There, you got to remember, we all see these fighters, female or male, making all these massive paydays. Well, the girls don't get paid that much. I would think that Shanika Johnson would be getting well paid. She's one of the main girls with MVP. I don't think Desley Robinson and Kay Scott and these type of girls will be getting that big of paydays. I hope they are, but I doubt it. Sky Nicholson will be getting very well paid. Make no mistake about that. So I can understand. Look, it's not just fighting every 6 months and reaping in the money. I mean, it could only be $20,000 or $30,000 these girls get in the fight. They've got training expenses. They've got to give cuts to the managers and training staff, and they've got to maybe pay for family to come over. All these sorts of things. It's not cheap. Plus cost of living, so they don't make a lot of money. So again, I've got no dramas with it whatsoever. They can make a buck doing it. I'm sure not a lot of them really enjoy doing it, but they realise they have to. I know there are some that do enjoy it, and good on them. But I mean, you've got to live somehow, and I think, contrary to what a lot of people think, the females don't make that much money unless you're right at the top. So yeah, I don't think you can begrudge them for trying to make some money on the side. And at the end of the day, I think we'd all agree, if you could get on there and make some of the money that some of these girls, is it only for girls? I'm assuming it is, that they make. I'm sure we'd be all doing it as well. You know, I've seen stories about some of them are making $1 million a month. Well, how can you criticise that? You mightn't approve of what they do, but geez, I reckon if we had, in the same situation, we'd do it as well. So. Glenn, he agrees with Mark about Marciano. All right, Glenn, what's your opinion? One thing about Marciano, I think part of his appeal is how small he was, even for his era. I think he generally weighed in the 180s. Yeah, well, that's the other thing that people don't seem or can't seem to get their heads around, Glenn, when they talk about Marciano as far as the all-time greats. Now, I don't think he's anywhere near the all-time greats. That's just me. I don't think he's anywhere near the top 10, if not even top 15. Just my opinion. But you got to look at the weight. He's fighting in the 180s. Can you imagine him fighting some of the guys who are in the 230s and 240s? I mean, even Tyson when he was in the 220s and 230s. I mean, these are solid guys. So I respect what Rocky did. But I think if he didn't have a perfect 49-0 record, I think he'd be viewed a lot differently. I don't think he's as good as a lot of fighters who had many losses on their careers. So I don't mean to, dig into Rocky, but, I think you just got to call it the way you see it. And I think the only reason Rocky is really viewed the way he is simply because of that 49-0 record. And I've said in the past, I do not rate records. I don't rate them at all. I go by the resume, not what your record is. I saw the other day, there was a story somewhere, some young guy's going for Mayweather's record. He's 44-0. He's never fought anyone remotely resembling a world-class fighter. He's getting these headlines because he's 44-0. I mean, come on. Look at his record. There's no one in there. I didn't recognise one name. But he's getting this story about, look out, Mayweather, this guy's going to overtake you. I did on Walking Boxing the other day, Julio Cesar Chavez got to 81-0. Or was it 89-0 or something like that? I mean, he didn't worry about his zero. He just kept fighting the De La Hoyas and these type of guys. He didn't care. And that's just what he did. And that's why I will always revere someone like Chavez, because he lost a few, but he fought everybody. Same as De La Hoya and those type, and Pacquiao, those type of guys as well. So, Tim Tszyu versus Lara would be good. Also, Zepeda versus Moritalia would be a good matchup. Be great matchups there, I would think. Ryan, I'm not a gambling man. Just wondering if Nikita is a favourite against Marnie. Good test for Nikita, that's for sure. I would think Nikita will be the favourite there, Ryan. Big time, I would think, over Ben. But I don't know how all the betting works, but I would think that Nikita would be a very solid favourite. There'll be a lot of people out there with, we'll call it the smart money, who will be going for Ben Marnie, and I think he's a live chance, but I think Nikita on the betting books or slips or whatever the hell it is they call them would be the markets would be the favourite by a fair bit, I would think. Ellie, I don't know what to tell you there. I'm sorry. Can I turn my microphone's on 100? So I think from your end, can you turn the volume up? I'm sorry. I can't. I can't do anything more. I don't think so. Yeah, as I said, it's on maximum at the moment. So just turn your volume up and see how you go. Tommy B, how are you? Tommy, loving having all the guests lately. Noonan was great last week. Geez, he is well connected. He certainly is, Tommy. He knows everybody. And I know a lot of people can talk it up in this sport, but I've seen it with my own eyes being over there in Vegas and Oklahoma when we went over there for George Kambosos' fight with Maxie Hughes. Yes, when you got here's for instance, being in Oklahoma, it's a top ranked show. Everyone who's anyone was saying good day to Nick Noonan or Noonan Boy and stopping for a chat, and he was able to get me press passes and all that sort of stuff and backstage access, and it was great. So I can't thank him enough. And again in Vegas, very, very well connected over there as well. So, all right, Drew, a prime fleet-footed Lara conclusively beats Tim. More than stationary, immovable, less fleet-footed current version of Lara gives Tim a definite chance of victory. Well, yeah, I think the fact that Lara is very much a counterpuncher, that Cuban style, he gives you angles, he pivots around to the side, he counters very, very well. That's my only concern with Tim. I think even if Lara stood his ground, Drew, I think Tim might be in some trouble. I think if Lara boxes, I think he can outbox Tim. If he stands with Tim, I think maybe he could exploit Tim's lack of defence as well. So tough fight for him. I'm just sort of banking on the fact that he's 42, 43 years of age, mate. Let's hope that that gets him over the line, but we will see. All right, Jules. Evening all. Do you believe that Team Zoo 2 are still chasing world titles, or are they just looking for the biggest payday still on the table, e.g. Charlo, Thurman, Lara, etc.? Bit of both there, Jules. Obviously, they want world titles, but I just think at the moment they're looking at the biggest fights possible. They'll get world title shots, make no mistake about that. He's still a big name in world boxing. At middleweight, they don't really have a lot of big names at that weight, except sort of each other, and even each other. I'm talking Adamas versus Lara, or Lara versus, I don't know, McKenna if he wins, and Bentley versus Adamas, whatever. They don't really have a lot of, I don't think, a lot of pizzazz about him. Is that the word? A lot of shine on them. You put Zoo in there, like a Zoo versus Adamas and Zoo versus Lara. I mean, suddenly, you've got some big fights there. So I think they'd be chasing the world title shots, but I mean, apart from Charlo, there's probably not that many other big names there anyway, Jules. So, but I think I did see Thurman was brought up as well, and obviously, as we said, Charlo. But yeah, I just think it's going to be the biggest names for the biggest money. If it happens to be a world title on the line, well, happy days. Sorry, Ellie, you can't hear at all. You can't. Is that right? You can't hear at all. I'm trying my best to yell into the microphone there. I don't know. Maybe it's your settings, Ali. I'm sorry, but from all reports, it seems to be working okay. But anyway, I apologise. All right, Sean, Denzel Bentley is for the taking for Tim. He's a lot less dangerous than Lara and has been beaten before. Sean, I think he would be the one. It depends on what happens this weekend with McKenna and who was the Italian guys fighting. What was it? Middleweight. Itanosa Oliha. Is it Oliha? Maybe, I don't know. I've never seen Oliha fight. McKenna, yeah, I think he's very beatable as well. But I think as it stands at the moment, Bentley's the one for me too, Sean. I think that Tim could definitely beat him, and he's a WBO champion. Tim is going to be highly ranked with the WBO, so it does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? What's that there? No volume issues here. I have a superior Samsung. In saying that, I'm guessing you have an Apple iPhone. Yeah, I don't know how it works. I'm just sort of looking at all my settings at the moment on here, and everything's at its maximum. So, and this microphone, I'm assuming it's plugged in all right. It's one of the best in the business. It's a Shure. Is that how you pronounce it? Shure. I see all the best podcasters using it, so I'm assuming it's okay. So I'm sorry, Ali, but I can't help you, unfortunately. All right, boxing for life. I think there's more money in Zoo fighting Charlo than there is fighting Lara for the belt. But if Zoo loses to Lara, it's all over. But that's boxing. Good show as always. Thank you very much, Boxing for Life. I appreciate it, mate. I think if it came down to Lara for the WBA belt or Charlo, I've got a feeling they might go for Charlo. Having said that, I mean, a world title shot is a world title shot, isn't it? It's interesting, though, isn't it? If they were side by side, which one would they take? I might take that back. I reckon they might say, we'll go for Lara for the belt, let Charlo have a tune-up, and then they fight Charlo if they beat Lara, which is, again, is very, very risky because Lara's no laydown. So either way, he's got some options there, mate. It seems like it all revolves around Tim, and he'll make the better decision. I would think that all four of the world champions will look at Tim as a very hot commodity to fight in response to in defense of their title. So Ali never had issues before. Yep, sorry. What's that? Okay. It's my mic level. It can't be my mic level there, Glenn. It's all up to 100%. I'll do some homework anyway. All right, Tommy B. I don't think that Grand Prix win got as much publicity as it should. So rare in pro boxing to win a tournament where there is no cherry picking of opponents. Huge achievement. Yeah, I'm with you, Tommy. And I 100% think it didn't get the attention and publicity that it deserved. 5 fights. Now, I know a lot of the fighters weren't exactly, ranked in the top 3 or 4 or 5 of the world, but for what it was and who was involved and the way he got through all those fights, I mean, 5 fights in pretty quick succession. I thought it was a great performance by Dylan. And I'm disappointed for him after hearing him talk that it's been 8 months without a fight. But I'm hoping now that he's got this one coming up. Eventually, we'll find out what his name is, and hopefully he can go into bigger and better things. So, Oz Media sucks, says Shadow Boxer. All right, what have we got here? Carlo Copetta. Keyshawn either can't make weight or on the gear. Okay. Been tuning in regular for ages. Keep seeing Big J. Pardon my ignorance, but is he a former pugilist? If so, box rec, journo, or punter? Well, no, I don't think he's been a pugilist there, Carlo. Is he allowed to have an opinion if he hasn't been a fighter? Well, that's probably a question you could ask. I think so. I got no dramas with Big J's opinion, just like anyone out there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not a former pugilist. I'm sure he's commented in the chat there anyway. So if you have there, Big J, give us your box rec and we'll look you up. What else have we got there? Sorry, I think I read a couple of those comments out to. Right, Mark, you've obviously got an iPhone as well. What was the Bow Desert Storm. I forgot to actually mention that. Yeah, the Bow Desert Storm. All right. I'm getting through. Oh, thanks, Tara. Your little comments there. Yep, thank you. What is that? Dylan was great. So, yep, humble, no bragging, just gets in and on with the job. Yep, and you got to respect those type of fighters. Yep, Shadow Boxer, 100%. He had a good head on his shoulders, didn't he? Nikita is too powerful for Ben, in my opinion, says 10 times profits. I tend to agree there, mate. Profits. All right. Nikita probably eating a placenta and drinking breast milk right now for dinner. Who knows, mate? Who knows? I love Nikita. I think he's great for the sport. All right. Pound for pound. Stephen Fulton should never be seen or spoken about again, but if you want him punished, bring him back for the littlest amount of money and feed him to Paro at 147. Well, firstly, he's not going to come back for a little amount of money there, mate. I don't think he's going to, well, he obviously values himself. He's not going to fight for not a lot of money. And why give him a shot at Paro at 147? I say stuff him pound for pound, let him work his way up, and maybe, just maybe, he might get a shot at a world title. I would think, although he missed, what was he, 139.5? So he could probably get to maybe 135 or maybe just go up to 140, but he certainly is not getting Paro at 147. Yeah, I agree, mate. Yep, his mind state is brilliant. Yep, nice bloke. Thanks, Perception. Great interview. Yeah, we will try and get a few more different people on. I want to each Wednesday, just whether it's a fighter, manager, whoever it might be, just get them on. And as well as Rap to have Stephen Pios, I really want to get his perspective of being in the ring. You know, he's amongst the excitement. He creates the excitement. I love his energy and everything else. He seems to be improving all the time, and he has done the FIFA as well. I think it said somewhere I read. So yeah, looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Bo Desert Storm, you know you're a good fighter when you don't even care about your opponent's name. It's like, yeah, it's August 30th. There, whatever his name is, I'll be ready. Got to love that, don't you? Richard, solid fella. Great questions. Thanks, Richard. Could be wrong, but maybe the mic is a bit too far from you. I'm talking as far as I can into it there, Richard. I'm sorry. Dylan was much louder. Look at a Rode microphone. Well, he just had his. Did he just have his headphones in? I can't. Well, I would have thought. Yeah, you can see it there. That's. Hang on, you can't see the brand of it there, but this is one apparently the best you can get. So I don't know. I'll do some research. It's got to be a setting wrong on here somewhere. Sean says, Dylan, what a good bloke. Let's hope he goes all the way to the top. Yep, 100%, mate. Well, I'm definitely a fan now. That's for sure. Thanks, mate. Yeah, here's a tip. Turn up your own device. Yeah, there you go. That would maybe help. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you got your volume down too low. Because it's funny how I've got a lot of people saying it's okay and others saying they can't hear me. I don't know. Glenn, I know Ben Damon reasonably well. He drinks at my local. Want me to see if he wants to come on your show? Yeah, maybe. I've actually got Ben's number. I must admit I haven't really thought of having Ben on the show, Glenn. It's not a bad suggestion though, because he's like Stephen Pios. He is right in the middle of it, and he obviously interviews the fighters inside and outside the ring. He hosts all the weigh-ins and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, maybe. Does everyone want to see Ben Damon on here? Well, we'll see. But would be good to have him come on there, Glenn. Shutterbox, Pios is good at what he does. Nothing against Ben Damon, but it's nice to get a break from his since he does comms interviews face to face. Yeah, well, he does. Yeah. Look, I do feel for Ben, and this is probably a question I would probably ask if he did come on here. Is it how do you come up, or do you struggle to come up with new angles, new questions? You know, because he, like you said there, he does the commentary, he does interviews in the ring. He does a sit down, he interviews them at the press conference and the weigh in and the open workouts. I mean, it must be bloody hard. So, yeah, it wouldn't be easy to do. All right. Oscar, just want to clarify, I don't believe Floyd had any intention in creating this. Oh, okay. Yep. In creating this monster, just the byproduct of his greatness. I'm a huge fan of his. No, good stuff there, mate. Glenn, I'm with you, Shadow. I was going to talk to Ben about that. He needs to study some of the great boxing journalists. Yeah. He's been around a long time, though, Glenn. Ben Damon. As far as I reckon, it's been at least 10 years. So, pound for pound, anyone criticising Floyd's 50-0 has never had a fight. To have the most elite level fighters trying to take your head off and make them miss by less than a millimetre, then snipe them with a counter. Where's the rest of that comment there, mate? I can't see it. But yeah, I'm with you. I do agree with that, mate. How could you criticise Floyd Mayweather Jr. with his resume? Again, go look at it. It is amazing. All right. Jules. Devin Haney was on OnlyFans. Wow. For legit boxers, it's just a promotional tool, not sex. For perspective, a manager once told me about a female boxer who fought for a world title in Hong Kong and got $2,000. I would not doubt that, Jules. Yep, would not doubt that at all. That's female boxing for you. So, as I said before, they've got a lot of overheads, a lot of expenses, a lot of commissions and everything they've got to pay. Plus, they've got to live the cost of living expenses, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, whatever puts food on the table, I think. Lara has a longevity in his career because of how he fights. He doesn't get hit too much, so he can keep going at such an age. And by looks of things, he looks after himself really, really well there, mate. So, yeah, that's got something to do with it as well. What's that? Malik Scott is on OnlyFans. And supposedly it's sex. Do they have sex on there? Do they? Wow, there you go. I didn't know that. Yep, no, I didn't. I had no idea. See, got the wedding ring on. That's yeah, I wouldn't know. Samuel, although I'm sure a lot of married men probably do, but anyway, I don't. Who do you think Liam gets next? Good question, Samuel. Well, his mandatory is Paddy Donovan, so he's ranked number 1. Number 2 is not rated, so Richardson Hitchens sneaking up. He's going to have a voluntary, I would think. Now, normally they allow you to have a voluntary first before you have a mandatory. So anyone in the top 10, I don't think he'd want probably to fight someone like a Brian Norman Jr. He's ranked number 6. Hitchens probably not straight away. He's ranked number 3. Keyshawn Davis is 4. Stuff him. 5 is Lewis Crocker. He's already fought. So I wouldn't have thought anyone in the top 6. There's a few down. Well, there's Raul Curiel. He fought yesterday. He could be an option. He was pretty unimpressive, though. There's a few there anyway there, Samuel. But, yeah, I think it'll be someone obviously in the top 15 as a voluntary, and then after that it'll be Paddy Donovan for sure. Tim Zhu did the right thing by taking fights to get himself back to where he is. Lara or Charlo would be a good fight for him, but Lara has a belt. Yeah, as I said, mate, I reckon they might go for Lara first and then Charlo after that. I'm very good mates with Chanel Dargan's manager. You'd be surprised how little the girls get paid. Yep, I'm with you there, Glenn. Yep. All right, we're still getting 50-50 of the mic's okay, and some saying it's not. Okay, so Dylan's opponent is on BoxRec. All right, let's have a quick look. Let's have a look there. Oh, hang on, it's going to be, yep, Dylan. All right, let's have a look. No, of course it's not coming up. It's, hang on, I'll type it in here. Dylan Biggs BoxRec. I should have had it up before we went to air, shouldn't I? All right, there it is there. All right. So Dylan, I should have looked it up. He's 18-1 with 9 knockouts. He's fighting Keenan Guzel, who's 7-0. All right, so his last fight was in June with a technical decision over, I can't pronounce his name. So, yeah, no one on there that I would know, but I've got no dramas with Dylan coming back for this type of fight. It is a 10-rounder, all right? So that is, again, August the 30th at the Queensland or Ipswich Turf Club. So if you're up there, make sure you get up there and support it. All right, I'll let you guys continue on about the bloody microphone. I think Nikita will get past Marnie quite easily. I'm just curious about his next move. It might sound harsh, but I think Nikita needs to start swimming at a deeper end of the pool. I think that'll happen, Drew. I think Nikita even commented himself and said that he's always viewed Ben Marnie as the last hurdle to get over on the domestic level. He's always viewed him as if he was going to get out of the Australian waters, it was going to have to be Ben Marnie he'd have to get over. So I would think after this, mate, it will be exclusively international opponents. At 28 years of age, I would think if he gets past Ben, I think you would then 100% see him fighting international fighters after that. And you'll probably see him in with the likes of the guys I had for Tim, Velasquez, Nerja, these type of guys. See how he goes with those fighters, and then they'll, in another year or something, I reckon they'll step him up to a really top ranked guy. Well, they have to. Pushing 30, you've got to take a risk at some point. Rode microphone. All right. Okay, I'll check that out, Glenn. Stephen Pios from Canberra. I don't know, Richard. I will ask him when he comes on. Thanks, Glenn. All right, Thurko says my volume's good. Okay. Wonder if it's an iPhone Samsung thing. Yeah, well, Samsung, I should say. Don't know. Glenn, Damon's a good guy. We had a good chat post-fight the other day. Yeah, I used to use him a little bit when we were promoting there, Glenn. He'd come down and we'd fly him down and he'd do the commentary for our shows down here when it was on Facebook. Who was the guy before Pios? I remember he read out the wrong Victor from a women's fight and was never heard of again. That was Lieutenant Dan, Drew. I used to use Lieutenant Dan a fair bit as well. I'll tell you the other ring announcer I'd love to see get more opportunities that we used to use all the time is Perry Cale. Perry Cale is a gun as far as an announcer goes. I used him a lot back in the day. I think him, along with Stephen Pios, would be the two best commentators or announcers in Australian boxing. So, but yeah, that was Lieutenant Dan that read out the wrong Victor Drew. I think that was the Shanika Johnson fight, wasn't it? All right. Oh, this is not a bad one. Yeah, get Australia's best cut man, the great Stephen Edwards, on for an interview. He has some fantastic stories. Great call there, sweet as. I might do that. I know Stephen pretty well. Oh, not really well, but I've had a bit to do with him over the journey, and good enough to have a chat with and give him a call. Good call. Because this is the thing. This is the one thing I've decided to do now that we're going to do some interviews, is that you see some of the other, and no disrespect to any of the other YouTubers out there, whatever, podcasters, whatever it might be, but they seem to all fight over the same people. I like to, if I'm going to do this, I want to get people on that don't normally do a lot of other stuff, other media, that gives a whole new, angle of the sport. And that's why I want Stephen Pios on. That's why Stephen Edwards would be great as well. Just people that you don't normally hear from, who I'm sure would have some great stories. And that's probably what I'm more aiming for here, rather than just getting the same old that everyone else has on. And we hear the same answers to the same questions time and time again. So great suggestion there, mate, because I'm definitely going to do that. And Stephen, if you're watching, look out for my my call or my message, because I'm gonna come for you. Jules is correct. Australia had a 2-weight world champion, Louisa Lulu Horton, great little fighter, won a world title in Japan, made 11,000. Well, even that's not a lot of money, mate. That's great for a women's world title fighter at that weight. So that's, in Japan, they pay their fighters pretty well, the Japanese promoters. But excuse me, $11,000 is still a fair bit of money for Lulu. He was a good little, great little fighter. Met her a couple of times. She goes all right. All right, true. My least liked boxing media personality is Larry Merchant. I remember when he made the 40 years younger comment to Floyd, I find Merchant a smug, condescending smartass. I never was a big fan either, Drew. And the only mine, apart from that, I thought was one of the most ridiculous things that a commentator's ever done is say that he would have whipped 40 if he was 40 years younger. I think we all know that's a complete lie. But anyway, I just didn't like Larry Merchant, Drew, because his questions were as straightforward and basic as you would ever imagine. Like he'd say to the guys that say Floyd Mayweather has just beaten a fighter for the world championship, and he'd say, so Floyd, how did you manage to win that fight? I mean, what a ridiculous question. I know it sort of makes sense because he's got to ask it, but just he asked the most obvious questions and he had no enthusiasm, he had no emotion. It was just so, how did you win the fight? Do you think you should fight him? And do you think you should fight him? And if I was 40 years younger, I'd whip your ass or something like that. You know what I mean? I never was a big fan of Larry. But he did know his boxing, though, Glenn. Yes, you are correct with that. Drew, do you have a favourite and least liked boxing media personality? That's a good call. I must admit, I do like Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri on Pro Box. I don't mind them. I like Roy Jones Jr., but he does tend to get, like, he strays off course a little bit, and sometimes, what are you talking about, Roy? Timothy Bradley, I liked him better before he got sort of highly controversial. It's a good question though, Drew. Favourite and least liked boxing media personality? I can't answer that at the moment, Drew. I'll have a think about that. But my favourite, as I said, probably Paulie Malignaggi, I would think. And least liked boxing personality. Max Kellerman. There you go. That's an easy one, Drew. As soon as I thought about that, I mean, I dislike Max Kellerman immensely, Drew. I think he's bloody useless. He used to be good, and now he's sold out to Zuffa and Paramount. Don't like him anymore. Richard, good to see Johnny Lewis at the fights. What a legend to work with Fennick, Harding, and Zoo, amongst others. Justin Rousel was another one, and Joe Bugner, and so many fighters were under Johnny Lewis, mate. He was a legend, that's for sure. Looks like he's might be struggling a little bit these days. He's in his probably mid-80s now, but what an absolute legend and just a true gentleman. I've met him a couple of times, and he's such a nice man. Shadowboxer, did you ever flirt with the idea of going pro? Apologies, I'm sure you've been asked this before. Yeah, many times, mate. No, not really. Always when I was coming up, always had the idea of turning pro. But it's funny, after, I think I've mentioned this on before, but after probably achieving everything I wanted to, not results wise, but when I was young, I wanted to go to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games and World Championships, all that sort of stuff, and I did that. And then, and she's probably still watching, I met a young, attractive girl by the name of Tara, and we were getting married, and I just didn't have the desire anymore. And I don't regret it, because I think everything happens for a reason. And even though I know I could have done some good things, I mean, you never know, I suppose, but I thought I could do some good things, especially with a lot of my teammates went pro and did really good things. But it is what it is. At that time, my heart wasn't in it. I was fully intent on getting married, going into business, starting a family, and I got no regrets whatsoever. So I won't lie though, I do sometimes think, what if? But I just think, again, everything happens for a reason, and for whatever reason it was at the time, my fire went out and I had no desire whatsoever to continue with boxing. And I'm sure, as you all know, that unless you're all in, you're all out. And I just didn't have it anymore. So Alex, you don't have much luck hearing me either. I don't know. I will check it out, Alex. Thanks for pointing it out. Yes, All-Star. There's Benny Harrington in the chat, I'm assuming. Yeah, Jai Dixon, of course. We haven't mentioned Jai. Let's go Aussie. Yep, he won the gold medal. Unbelievable. And also Jacob Kassar, who won the silver. Apologies there, Benny. I didn't mention him, and he deserves all the credit in the world. What a performance from Jai Dixon. What a fight. What a fighter. And he's going to be a gun pro. I think he did say he's going to go pro. So, yep, 100% there, mate. Let's go Aussie for sure. Gold medal for Australia with Jai Dixon. I think it was the 55 kilo division. So all the best to Jai, and well done to you too there, Benny, because I think he's your fighter, isn't he? So great stuff, mate. Drew, someone was laughing at me because I was a fan of boxing and said UFC where it's at. I told him, oh yeah, the sport whose biggest draw card has one win in 10 years, hardly a flex. Yes, this is Conor McGregor. I think is he had one win in 10 years? I'm not sure. But what do we got there? Pound for pound. Best ring announcer was Howard Lee. He was great back in the day, mate. We used him a few times. Runs into a washed-up welterweight and still remembers every fight he does. Yeah, and I used to get along really well with Howard because we were both born in the same town, Birchip in country Victoria. I don't really know where Birchip is, by the way. It's up north Victoria somewhere. And Howard was actually born there as well. And every time, he used to announce me all the time in the amateurs as well. And for some reason, he thought I lived in Kangaroo Flat. Now, Kangaroo Flat is a suburb of Bendigo. I actually lived in Eagle Hawk in Bendigo, but for some reason, he used to think I lived in Kangaroo Flat, and he used to call me the Kangaroo Flat Flash. That was my nickname. He used to always say, Howard, mate, I love you, but I'm not from Kangaroo Flat. You know, but he knew everyone's record. He knew the background. He was great, Howard Lee, and I've run into him a few times at the Hall of Fame dinners in Melbourne, and what a legend. I still remember to this day when he announced Lester Ellis. He came up with his nickname, the Master Blaster. And I remember when he announced Lester Ellis as the new world champion, and they hoisted Lester up in the air, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, Howard Lee. What an absolute legend he was. Glenn could line up an interview with the Cowboy. Yeah, that'd be good to get Justin on. Yep, for sure. I've never actually met Justin, though, Glenn. He went away with my brother to the world titles in 1989. And I heard everyone I speak to, they all love Justin Rousel, but I've never actually met him or spoke to him. So maybe that's someone we could line up, mate, for sure. Yep, Callum and mute button, that's for sure, mate. Yes, Shadowboxer, Bob Sheridan, he was one of my favourites. I met him as well, Shadowboxer. We met him in Vegas. He was having dinner. He was great. He actually stopped having dinner. We sort of waved and he called us over and we stopped for a chat. And an absolute legend, mate. He's obviously no longer with us. But yeah, he look, those days in the 70s and 80s when he was calling Larry Holmes and those guys and Mike Tyson, he was an unbelievable commentator, shadowboxer. So yeah, he would definitely go down as far as a commentator goes. Probably, yeah, there's probably a difference, I suppose. The Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algier and those types of guys, they're more I suppose, special comments, I suppose, not actual commentators. As far as actual commentators go, Bob Sheridan was the man, for sure. Paul in Algeria would be gettable on Deep Dive with the Connections. Yeah, no, they would be, Jules. I've never had them on here, obviously, but I know some of the guys that have had them on their channels, and there's no problem getting them on. But again, do we want to hear another Paul Malignaggi interview? I don't think I would. I mean, during fight week and after the fight with Tim's last fight, I reckon I saw 8 or 9 different interviews with Paulie Malignaggi and the thing he did in Sydney with Tassie Brown. So do we want to hear another interview with Paulie? I love Paulie, don't get me wrong, but is there anything more he could add? I don't think so. Algieri would be a good one because he doesn't really get asked, I don't think, or especially to come out here, but I think he would be good to get on. And I know I have seen him on sort of private podcasts or channels like this, so maybe. But I think Paulie Malignaggi and Sean Porter and these type of guys, I think they've just been done to death. So we'll see. Yeah, Max is bathing in the Saudi juices, that's for sure. Glenn, like Big George and Paulie as commentators, despise Max Kellerman now. He used to love George Foreman as well. Yep, he was great. Tara weakened your legs for good. Yep, she did. And been married 28 years this year we have, so. All right, Drew. My favourite fighter was George Foreman. I had my only child at 47 after several years of disappointment. I used to watch his KO of Mora on loop and see if he can land a lucky shot. So can I. Well said there, Drew. Yeah, well, you've obviously got one through the keeper there, mate. So congratulations. But George Foreman, I used to love watching him, listening to him. So informed he was. And I'm just trying to. I must admit, who's the original HBO team? I'm just trying to think who it was back in the day. I'm talking about the 80s. Stephen, what was his name? If you're my age, you'll remember. I'm talking about the guys that were around in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s. Those guys on HBO, they were the best. Hang on, I'm going to have to quickly Google this because I need to know. Because they were the best. See if this brings it up. Pre-97, all right. Well, Larry Merchant. Harold Letterman was the judge. Is it going to bring it up? Doesn't look like it. Who was it? It was... No, hang on. All right, pre-1997 it says here. Who were they? Let's have a look. No, it's not coming up. I won't bother about it. But yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Go back to the 80s. Watch the Hagler-Leonard fight and the Hagler-Hearns fight. Watch that on HBO and then you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, 10 times profits. I remember Tim watching Nikita fight and was yelling at Jeff Fennick to throw in the towel for his fighter. And now Tim is his fighter. Oscar De La Hoya made a funny video going at Dana White and Turkey funny as. All right, I'll check it out there. Profits. Yes, Howard Lee did have a great laugh. Just a great guy overall there, mate. Jules, what was the major difference between Commonwealth and Olympic Games? Well, the major one was probably the level of competition there, Jules. Same as the World. The World Championships were the same as the Olympic Games. I think at the World Titles, I fought a couple of Russians. I fought an Italian, a Frenchman. The Olympics, I was eliminated in the first fight against Kazakhstan, who I suppose is a Russian, I suppose. Commonwealth Games, I fought the West Indies. I think I said this on Walking Boxing the other day. Ireland and then Canada. But yeah, it's just a level of competition, mate. Obviously, Olympic Games is a lot higher. But I didn't mind the Commonwealth Games as far as the actual event goes. I mean, the Olympics are so big, and having it in Orlando, and that was great. The Coca-Cola Games, they called them, it was awesome. But the Commonwealth Games, being it was only Commonwealth countries, was just felt a lot tighter, a lot more. Everyone was sort of on the same level, and everyone sort of understood each other a bit better because they're all from Commonwealth countries. But Olympics, it was just big and corporate was the Olympic Games. So, but the Commonwealth Games was more about the athlete experience and the fan experience. The Olympic Games was just about corporate money, the Coca-Cola Games. So. But they were both great in their own ways, Jules. They really were. I mean, obviously, really disappointing for me because I got eliminated in my first First day, first session, straight out, and I had 2 weeks I had to spend there. So after moping around for 3 or 4 days, I sort of come out of hibernation and sort of enjoyed a little bit. But the Commonwealth Games was, just a different type of event. But as I said earlier, even though I didn't get the results I was after, obviously just to say you went to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games and world titles and all that sort of stuff and represented Australia probably 20 times. Yeah, obviously pretty proud. But I won't lie and say that the Olympics and Commonwealth Games did leave a real bitter taste in my mouth, I can tell you. Pound for pound, California Gully is the best suburb of Bendigo. That's where boys grow in the men. Is that where you're from, is it, mate? That's where I was from. I lived in Eaglehawk and California Gully. Yep, I lived down the road from the California Gully football oval. I used to go up there every second morning and do my sprints up there, rain, hail, or shine. I'm talking literally rain, hail, or shine. I remember doing sprints around the oval in ankle-deep water because it had been raining and the rain coming in sideways and the wind pushing me back because it was so strong. And I must admit, this is probably a bit of advice I got to any young fighter or athlete. Doesn't matter what it is, you just got to do it. And not once did it actually occur to me that, holy shit, it's like typhoon weather and I'm out here running. Not once. To me, it was Tuesday and I had to do my sprints. That's the mentality you have to have. Not, oh, geez, it's a bit foggy, whatever, I better stay in bed. No, or a bit cold or it's raining. No, you get out there and you do it anyway. Jim Lampley, there you go. Perceptions, music, Jim Lampley. He was awesome. And there was another couple on there as well, but he was probably my favourite there back in the day, mate, for sure. Yep. Gil Clancy, used to love Gil Clancy too, Shadow Boxer. That team, Jim Lampley, Gil Clancy, and throw Larry Merchant in there as well. He was okay with his special comments, Larry Merchant. It's just when he had the microphone in someone's face, I didn't rate him. Yep, loved watching the late 90s, early 2000s. Yep, me too, mate. Yeah. Nothing like HBO boxing. Love watching the old telecast on YouTube. Was an entire vibe. Yeah, and this is the thing I think we're lacking these days, Shadow Boxer. How exciting it was back then to have him at ringside and they'd have all the little videos and the little mini documentaries they'd put out and, of course, the 24/7s that they had in the lead up to it. These days, I just think the whole thing's very bland. And I think boxing is nowhere near as exciting as it used to be because we simply don't have that type of caliber of commentators anymore. Enjoyed the Biggs interview, but Dylan needs to realise that professional boxing is about entertaining people as well, for better or worse. Just think he should promote himself more. Well, I think that's the reason why Brendan Smith, his trainer, suggested maybe to come on, because this is what he needs to get out there. And you're right. And Nikita Zoo's probably the same. He probably doesn't like doing it, but understands that he has to. So I thought Dylan was great. I do. I did win a medal, mate. I don't give those away. Yeah, it was bronze. Yep. Yeah, I've still got it here somewhere. Weird this fight won't even be streamed. Surely just pop it on YouTube. Yeah, it's got me buggered there. I would have thought, well, even back when I was promoting, you could just put it on Facebook. You got a production team. You can just put it on yourself. You don't really need to have a certain level of production. Like if you put it on, when we used to record for Foxtel, you'd have to have a proper production team. But when it was on Facebook, you just had to have good lighting and you could just put it on yourself. There was no issues with it. So, yeah, I don't know. And Smithy up there, Brendan Smith, does put on a lot of shows. So I'm surprised they haven't worked something out. But, yep, Money versus Mosley was a top fight. Certainly was, mate. I was actually at that fight, Money and Mosley, at the MGM Grand. And Mosley rocked him in the second round and almost had him out of there, didn't he? Glenn, did you see Redder and Showtime shaving each other's mullets off? Hilarious. Yeah, I did, mate. And I thought that was awesome from Redder. He didn't have to do it because he won the bet and Showtime had to shave his mullet. But I thought it was great that Ahmed Redder actually shaved his off as well. They look a lot different without him, don't they? I like, especially with Ahmed Redder, it looks so much better without the mullet, if you ask me. Paul's a little bit different because he's a little bit looser than what Redder is. And I think it's part of his sort of look, I suppose. But Ahmed Redder, yeah, I like him a lot better just with the clean haircut now. So, Sean, when Little Ring Rick talks, I lean forward. The little fella. Little Ring Rick. Rick, can you get the hell out of the shot? I'm sick of having a really good face-off with the two guys and everything else, and we're all watching it intently, and then up pops Little Ring Rick with his little head with his glasses and stupid hat and the belt over like he actually means something, and he's a somebody, Versace Rick, whatever they call him. Yeah, Yeah, that's probably one of my pet hates, Sean, is when, and not just Little Ring Rick. I don't like it when a lot of the promoters pop up their head and that's all you can see is these big melon head. And all you see, you're looking at the photo and you see the side profiles of the fighters and you see someone's big melon head right in the middle of the picture. I hate it. And Little Ring Rick's the main culprit. Although he's always sort of looking up, isn't he? So, yep, Drew agreed. The caliber of commentators in the 80s and 90s, big fights used to feel like a kid's Christmas on steroids. Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. And I'm with whoever said it before. I still love getting on and watching the Hagler Hearns and the Hagler Leonards and those type of fights. Just and the Larry Holmes fights and Tyson fights. Just a different level of commentary. It really was. It really was. And if you're a young buck, if you're I don't know between 15 and say 30, something like that, go back and watch those fights with that commentary. It was something else. Jules. What's your next overseas trip? Actually, in September, Jules, I'm going over to the Ryan Garcia Conor Benn fight, and Jai Patel will be on the undercard. So I think the week after Isaac Pitbull Cruz is fighting in San Diego. So I'm going to go on the 10th of September. I'm going to fly to Vegas for a couple of days, 3 days, I think it is, for that fight, the Garcia and Benn. I'm going to fly up to Montana. I've always wanted to get up there, cowboy country. Then I'm going to drive back down to Vegas over the next 4 or 5 days. And then I'm going to catch a plane to San Diego for the Pitbull Cruz fight in San Diego. That's the plan at the moment anyway. So Benjamin Hussain, how are you? Ben, how are you? Thanks for comment, mate. What do you got there? Is it true that most commentators get assigned the job and not picked by the boxing promotions in Australia? I don't know, Ben. I don't know how it works with the main events of the world. I would think that Ben Damon is just main events guy. I think he's just the guy. That's what he gets employed to do. I'm not sure. Well, with our private events that we did, I could choose whoever I wanted to, and I used to bring Ben down and others. Jade Mitchell used to do a lot of commentary for us as well. He was really good. But I don't know. When at that level, Ben, yeah, 100% at the main event level. The no limit sort of level. They would the main event KO whatever they would be choosing the commentators, and someone like No Limit they wouldn't. I suppose they don't really have a say. I mean they just want main event to put it on, and they've got better things to do. But yes, to answer your question, yes, they get assigned by main event if they're at those type of events. Oh, sorry, Jules, Mr. Versace. What did I call him? Ricky Versace? I don't know. Mr. Versace then. Why don't you help Dylan stream his fight? You have knowledge and the connections. I pay to watch it. I can talk to his coach and manager, Brendan Smith, but I think Brendan would. I'm sure he would know. I'm sure they've done it before up there. It's the big what is it? The big fights or something they call it, something along those lines. But I reckon it's got to be by choice, pound for pound. I've got a feeling that Brendan's choosing not to put the fights on stream. I don't know why you wouldn't just charge $10 for it. I'm sure there'd be lots of people out there that would pay $10, even 15, $20 even. I'm assuming. You're at home on a Saturday night. If it's done properly, I'd have no dramas paying $10 or $15, and who knows, you might get 500 views and away you go. So don't know, but I can definitely ask him, mate. But I would think he would have connections up there that would do it, and I've got a feeling he chooses not to do it. Like Tassie Brown, he does his shows in Tasmania. He doesn't stream at all. He wants everyone in attendance, but I don't see the sense in sort of blocking off the rest of the nation just because you want people in there, and people are going to go to the fights anyway. Live sport these days, you want to be at the event. So especially when it comes to a sport like boxing. So yeah, I don't know. I can't see the sense in it, apart from the fact that you do have to spend a little bit extra money on making sure the production's a little bit better. So what's that, Ben? You could definitely figure it out. Is Dylan's next one? Yeah, I agree there, mate. I'll have a chat to Brendan and to see if he does know. I'm sure he'd have to, surely, in this day and age. Just someone in the camp up there that say, hey, why don't we stream it? And here's the connection. There's so many people around that do it, so I'll ask the question. All right, guys, we're 5 minutes over our normal time. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Thanks again to Dylan Biggs for coming on. Great to chat to him and all the best. And actually, while we're speaking of it, Ben, you're in the chat there. I would love to see you in the ring with Dylan Biggs. I reckon, I wish you had spoken up earlier on. We might have been able to get you both on together. We could have made a bit of a face-off live on here would have been pretty cool. But that would be a really good fight. I know you're more of a 154-pounder these days, but wouldn't mind seeing that. But having said that, guys, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Again, there'll be no interview on Wednesday night. It'll be on the weekend with Glenn Jennings, and the following week it'll be someone. Maybe it'll be Stephen Edwards or Ben Damon or someone, and then the following week after that will be Stephen Pios on the ring announcer. So keep watching for that, and also Walking Boxing every single morning on this channel. So guys, have a great week. We'll catch you next time on Talking Boxing.